Hey, what's up YouTube? My name is Brent Nextran. I am a freelance filmmaker and DP. I wanted to talk today about the R5, probably one of the most anticipated cameras of the Canon release structure, definitely. Man, I have been so excited when I kept hearing all the rumors. And it was like, nah, that's too good to be true. Freaking 8K? Who needs 8K? Canon's not going to be able to sell 8K. No, they're going to do it now. I don't have either of the cameras. I don't have any pre-release models of them. So these are just my thoughts on the images that I've seen so far. So I heard on one of the sites that the day one release of the camera will have Canon log. But on the R5, you're actually going to be able to get Canon log 3, which is a 14-stop dynamic range curve. So I'm really excited about that. So that'll actually compete with the C200 at a lower price point, which I think is really cool always. When Canon kind of like cannibalizes their own camera line in a certain way, like dynamic range. So I'm really excited for this camera. I don't know if I'm going to buy one for video, but I'll definitely be interested in one for photos. But yeah, I am really interested in getting a photo camera because I can use it as a B-roll camera for a camera I do plan on buying, which is the C300 Mark III, which is a much more expensive, professional, high-end cinema camera. Well, hello there, Keanu. Let me pull up some specs on... Okay, cool. So I got the specs pulled up here on B&H's website. So one thing I'm really excited for on the R5 is just the ability to shoot RAW. One of the biggest bummers about the R5 is the overheating. So I think that's what everyone's really talking about on my feed anyway, on YouTube, is the overheating issues and how a lot of wedding videographers that might have attempted to shoot in 8K, they're not going to be really able to shoot 8K for any long periods of time. Even in H.265, it's definitely going to overheat, which is a big bummer, and I understand why it overheats. Because, I mean, look at it. It's tiny. It's not a cinema camera. It's not a RED. It doesn't have a big intake fan and like 2 exhaust fans. It's a mirrorless, it's like a sealed mirrorless camera. So it's weather sealed, and the RED is definitely not weather sealed if you're going to compare it to another 8K camera. And I really want it still. Even though 8K is going to overheat it, I'm probably going to shoot a lot of photography on it later. I feel like it'll be a good like snippet camera if you want to get some 8K. I'm really not interested in 8K yet. The most I'd be interested in is like 6K practically, and then only to downsample to 4K. So that is actually a good segue to the oversampled 4K on this camera. I think that's going to look amazing, and it's probably going to beat the Sony competitors for a while. A lot of people don't know, but Bayer pattern sensors don't actually have all the blue and the red pixels for the given resolution. They're actually, I think it's, they're extrapolated from the adjacent sub photosite pixels, and the 2 green pixels are actually shared with the adjacent blue and red pixels. I could probably show a little diagram of a Bayer pattern sensor up on the upper left or right. But yeah, so this really excites me because this is an 8K sensor. So it's actually going to give you 4K on the red channel and 4K on the blue channel, which is really cool. And I've actually shot quite a lot with the red helium, which is a red Epic with a helium sensor. So it was I think it was the Epic W. It's a really pretty camera. The image that comes out of it is very, very pretty, and not quite a film look. It's not like the Alexa. It's a lot more clean, and it's a lot more like clinical. Like you want to use Some people like to use really sharp lenses on it to exaggerate the effects of 8K. But having that extra red and blue data with a camera like this is really handy. And it produces a lot of heat to scan, 36 million pixels. In this case, we're looking at 45 million pixels to get that oversample. So I see why it overheats. I'm only kind of mad, but I think I'm more upset about the overheating in some of the 4K modes. Like 4K 60 apparently still overheats, which I think is pretty ridiculous that we've been waiting so long for a camera that has 4K 60 just to have it overheat in a full frame mode. Like there are cameras that do 4K 60, like the FS7 I'm shooting on right now does 4K 60, but it's in the Super 35. It's not the same. You're not getting the same depth of field and the same field of view. But having 4K 120 is like, in full frame, I don't think any cameras actually do that. I don't even know if the C500 Mark II does that. I gotta look that up. Yeah, up to 120 frames a second, but that's just in 2K. Dang. So that's one thing the R5 already has on the C500 Mark II. Now granted, it's not gonna be as high of a quality codec in the 4K 120, but I was looking at the bitrate and it's like 1800 megabits a second, which is, that's like a 1-to-1 scaling on your bitrate for your frame rate from 4K and then scaling all the way up to 120. Like that is how much data you actually need to make it look good. So it might just be the holy grail of slow motion, pocketable cameras in a small camera bag. I am really excited for this camera. It's gonna change the way a lot of YouTube videos look. Similar to what the 5D Mark II did, this is gonna really up the, not the film quality, it's not gonna up people's like storytelling abilities, but it is gonna allow people to see their mistakes, their lighting. It's gonna emphasize how you're lighting. And I feel like you're gonna be able to get away with a little bit more, like a little more dramatic lighting might be nice, compared to, the EOS R right now. The EOS R it has good dynamic range. It's less than 12 stops of dynamic range, but the field of view that you're going to be able to get on the R5 and the R6 is going to make a lot of the photo lenses, the full frame photo lenses, not as of a waste. Because when you're shooting Super 35 on a full frame lens, you're only using the center, the center portion of the glass. That's what I'm doing right now, actually. I have a Sigma 24-70. I think I'm like 24 millimeters right now. And I'm shooting on a Super 35 camera, and I don't have a speed booster or anything, but this lens looks really good on this camera, and it would look even better on an R5 or an R6, especially in 8K. But yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on the R5. I'll probably talk about my thoughts on the R6 in the next video. But yeah, I'll get into that in the next video. And until then, I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye. Hey, Keanu. Meow. She loves attention. Key fill kind of ratio going on. Is that, I think it's 10% now. Aww. I lost my assistant. That was the only reason anyone was ever going to watch. That's not true. Is the kitty.